so surprised how many people didn't know that with the DEI rollbacks, that meant that like there would also be rollbacks for specifically women. I don't know what y'all thought. What you thought? First of all, you thought these men respected us? What? Just because you're like a white woman? And I get, like, I'm a white woman, right? But like most political progress for women has come at the hands of women of color. Not to say that there haven't been prominent white women, but like when they're talking about like diversity in the workforce, they're talking about you. And now they're talking about like getting rid of things like Black History Month and Women's History Month. All the white women are suddenly like, what? This applies to us? I don't know if you know this, but they view you as someone they can oppress. It's like, I don't know why we're surprised. This also means that like it opens the door for them to allow for things like for you to be fired if you're pregnant, for them to take away more things like maternity leave and stuff like that. Y'all need to stop associating DEI with just Black people or other people of color.
Hello guys, and welcome to the Joy Report. Today's video, we're going to talk about how white women didn't think that DEI fires included them. And so they supported it wholeheartedly, thinking that it was only meant for Black people or people of color. And so if this is the kind of content that you enjoy, please consider subscribing, like and sharing this video because it helps YouTube recommend it to a wider audience. And so to start with, it is laughable that people didn't do their own research. They just believe that DEI didn't include them. So first of all, let's start with defining what DEI means. DEI is an acronym that stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And in diversity, it does not mean just Black people or people of color. Diversity includes women, it includes people in the transgender community, it includes people living with disabilities, it includes people over 40, and so many other groups. People who don't or wouldn't have an equal opportunity as opposed to certain people. That's what diversity means. But so many white women just thought that diversity stood for people of color, and so they didn't care and supported. And so it is funny, and the joke is on them to come to find out, like, what? You mean diversity included women? So before I give you my commentaries and what I think about this matter, let's first roll a few clips, and when I come back, we can talk more.
The fact that a lot of white women thought that DEI meant minority or Black people, that it didn't include them, is the funniest thing to me. Because white women are DEI hires majority of the time. They benefit from DEI initiatives. So the fact that you would vote against your own interests and then get upset that this is happening to you is just like hilarious to me. What do you mean you didn't realize that you were the diversity hire? Like, you're a woman and you think that you have an equal playing field in this game as a white man? The fact that we have this program set in place stops companies from discriminating against you based off your gender. So I just don't understand why you would think that, oh my God, I'm in the same playing field as a white man, because you never will be. You actively voted against your rights to appease white men, and you're going to pay the consequences for that. DEI does not just mean Black people. As a white woman, that also affects you.
Because white women, the majority of them, would rather be the favorite pet than to stand up to the owner. And that's been our problem for a long, long, long time.
It is truly wild to me how many women will say, I want parental leave. I need sick time. I need accommodations. I'm a parent. Yet they will say things like, I don't believe in DEI. That just tells me that they believe DEI is only there to allow people with brown skin to gain access to jobs that white people think belongs to them. That is what that tells me, because DEI is so much more than allowing marginalized communities to gain access to jobs they didn't have access to before. Like, it is so much more than that. Honestly, that should be enough. And if you want to get rid of that, like, ugh, gross. But like, also the fact that you don't understand that it's so much more than that. And so you can't say, I like parental leave, I want parental leave, and then say, I hate DEI. Okay. Well, best of luck with the motherhood penalty. It's about to get a lot worse. Honestly, it blows my mind because so many women follow me because they love how I talk about the mental load and the motherhood penalty and the lack of affordable childcare and the need for paid parental leave. And then they'll say something like, you had me until DEI. You had me until you said DEI. I can't believe you support that. Are you kidding? Honestly. People seem to not be able to put two and two together. They really can't. And they just like really show their true colors in those moments. And These are truly wild times. These women want to advocate for workplace protections for mothers, for pumping and parental leave and all of the things that they need. But everyone else, sorry. Nope, you don't get workplace protections, just us.
So after watching these clips, it just tells me that white women identify with their whiteness first before their womanhood. And the color of their skin lies to them into thinking that they have actual power. So when these programs first were introduced, it was to cater first of all to the white women. They're the biggest beneficiaries, okay? And when we talk about diversity programs in the workplace, it includes women who, for example, you would be discriminated against because you are pregnant, and so people wouldn't give you a job because of the fact, or they would assume that you would ask for parental leave at some point, and so you would be a burden to the company. Let us be real, we are all humans, and with humanity we have an unconscious bias that all of us just tap into from time to time, and we don't even know that we're doing these things. For example, if you are in a hiring position and someone that is close to you or resembles you or has the same cultures as you applies for the job, you might end up giving them the position because unconsciously you relate to them. So this is why DEI programs were introduced in workplaces to be able to help such issues.
I think it's very clear by now that veterans and military spouses are about to be laid off en masse. The veteran community is going to really struggle for a while, and it's going to be very scary, and we need to make sure that we are there for each other and we're doing everything we can, because a lot of these DEI layoffs include veterans and military spouses. Military spouses already have a really, really hard time getting jobs. It's been proven, there's been many studies done. Nobody wants to just sit at home and not feel fulfilled. So military spouses are able to get jobs, they're able to start their own businesses. There's lots of different things. There's lots of different things that people want to do. And we're not all women, so we need to make sure that, we understand too that there are men out there that are military spouses as well, and there are dual military, and there's all sorts of stuff. But it is very hard when you move every 2 to 3 years to maintain a career, and it's really tough when you go from place to place and your stock isn't able to vest, and you basically are just not able to save for retirement, and you're having to use any emergency money to fill in the gaps between moves. It's really difficult, and especially when you feel obligated to pay his bill first, because if you have a spouse that has a security clearance, you have to make sure your credit is stays outstanding. So there's a lot of stuff, and it's really difficult when you have kids, and it's getting even harder with daycare. So I just wanted to come on here, I guess, and just remind people that these DEI initiatives that everyone is saying are awful, they include veterans and spouses too. And when a spouse can't work, sometimes that also impacts the mental health of the veteran. I don't want to even touch on that, but yeah, it's hard. And for me to know that all veterans and military spouses are just going to have so many more barriers to employment, like, we have to make sure that doesn't happen. And if you are an employer and you can do more to learn about hiring veterans and military spouses, there are programs out there that can help you understand, different jobs different military members would be perfect for.
When it comes to veterans, most of them previously were discriminated against and people didn't want to hire them. But because of these DEI hires, they were given an opportunity, or there were incentives that were given to companies for them to hire veterans. And so they benefited also in huge amounts, them and their spouses. People like stay-at-home mothers, they usually had a hard time when they went back into their workforce and they had to explain the gap in their resumes. And so this gave them an opportunity. The DEI hires gave them an opportunity to be considered for certain positions, because otherwise they would have to explain where they were and why there were huge gaps in their resumes. These mothers were at home raising their babies, so that was also important. And now that their babies are grown and they are back into the workforce, it was hard for them to acquire opportunities. So these DEI hires helped women in particular be able to get these jobs. And so the fact that white women or most people thought that these only applied to people of color, as I once said, is laughable.
You know what I noticed, that a lot of people who have a problem with DEI programs are because they want someone to blame for what they couldn't achieve. They rather blame someone else than to realize that they wasted every opportunity presented to them. My parents came to the US with nothing. They died and made me an orphan at 11 years old. And guess what? I still went to early college, high school. I was working 2 to 3 jobs during school to support myself financially and still got good grades all throughout school. I graduated from early college, high school, where I got my associates and my high school diploma at the same time. I got my bachelor's degree because I took as many classes as I could at once. And I was recognized for my academic achievement in undergrad. I was getting my bachelor's, I was working 1 job, interning somewhere, and commuting over an hour to my classes at night. I went to law school, graduated at 23 years old, and passed the bar the first time. I know so many people whose parents are from here. They were afforded every opportunity. They didn't have to work during school because their parents supported them. Still didn't do anything with those opportunities that they had. They still didn't do anything with the privilege that they had. And that is no one's fault but your own. So stop blaming people for doing what you could have done yourself. So if an orphan daughter of immigrants could do it, then so could you. Just know that I've earned my way into every room I've ever been in.
Another point I want to say is that they thought that DEI meant that the black people or the people of color were stealing jobs that were supposed to be theirs and being given to these people. But what I want to say is that this is just excuses. These are people who don't want to work hard. We've seen immigrants go into the United States of America and work their way up, okay? So no job is taken from you just because someone is hired. DEI does not give you a job. It gives you an opportunity to be considered for this position. You first have to be qualified. And so these people that are rejoicing at the removal of DEI hires are just looking for people to blame. They don't want to work hard. And so it is better for them to think that these people are stealing jobs from us, but don't stop to think that this thing also affects them.
If you are an American who has spent many years studying aviation and you graduate from school and you're an air traffic controller based on skill and merit, and then you apply for a job and you're forced to fill out a biographical questionnaire asking you the color of your skin and asking you where you're from in details that aren't relevant at all to the job description, I think that deteriorates the morale of people in this industry. When you are flying on an airplane with your loved ones, which every one of us in this room has, do you pray that your plane lands safely and gets you to your destination, or do you pray that the pilot has a certain skin color? I think we all know the answer to that question.
Now, after watching this clip, I am surprised that she's in that position that she's in, because I am sure there are people far more qualified than she. Okay? What does she mean by saying that, do you care if your pilot is brown, or do you care if you get to your destination safe? DEI does not mean unqualified. You first have to be qualified for you to be given the position. And so the fact that she thinks that the DEI hires means that these people are just hired because people are feeling sorry for them or bad for them is laughable. She doesn't even know what she's talking about. What is she talking about in the first place? And this is what we are saying. She doesn't think that this affects her. DEI helps people to get into positions, but it does not give them jobs. It helps them so that they can be considered after they are qualified. You don't get hired just because you are people of color or because you are living with a disability. You first have to be qualified. And so I want to say this, that DEI was meant for underrepresented groups. It does not mean black or brown people.
Did you know that the #1 group that benefits from diversity, equity, and inclusion are white women, and African Americans come in at #7?
And so for those people who are uneducated, please take time and educate yourself. Take time to know that it does not only mean people of color, but it means people living with disability. It means women. It means people over 40. You know, people are even discriminated because of their age. So they were given opportunities because this was a mandatory thing in organization, they were required to hire certain people. And this is why DEI was put in place in the first place. And so this just shows you that so many people are ignorant and they're not informed, and they don't even take time to know what these things mean. So as I finish this video, I would just love to say that just because you don't think something would affect you doesn't mean you should not care. Empathy is a human emotion that we should all have towards our people, towards other people. And so just because you feel like that is for them, that this thing will only affect a certain group of people and I am not part of it, shouldn't mean that you should not have empathy. And this is the case here. White women thought that DEI was meant for only black people or people of color. And so because of the color of their skin, they thought they were close to power. Okay? And so this is just a lesson for all of us, not just white women, but for all of us, to educate ourselves, to not just depend on what we are told, so that we can be able to make informed decisions. Now, as I finish, I also have another video that I did on the federal funding freeze. So if you are interested in such kind of content, kindly click here and watch. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and until the next time, the Joy Report out.